What's good? We back. It's the Boxing Clinic and more. It's your boy CJ Goodfella. One time for the one time. Y'all know what the business is, man. We grinding, and y'all know we do more than boxing. We do more than sports. Try to cover the board. Guys wanted me to start a hood story series, so I'm starting this episode 2. First episode was yesterday, talk about how the Jeezy and Gucci Mane beef got started. Won't be extensive, won't be super long. Episode 2 is how Detroit group of brothers, the Chamber Brothers. I don't know how a lot of you guys know about the Chamber Brothers. I'll give you a little history on it, then you can go do your own research. Influenced the movie New Jack City and how it was about them, the Chamber Brothers. Okay, the Chamber Brothers, they was from Arkansas. They came to Detroit to better themselves. Some of their family went to Memphis, and one of their brothers was a sergeant in the military out in California or something like that. But ultimately, they came to Detroit in the 70s, and I guess was looking to better themselves, found themselves into the the crack game. They was accredited by a lot of people for being the first crack dealers in the city of Detroit. Now, you see that parallel, okay? The parallel is in New Jack City, they were the first, I think, gang in New York City that was selling crack, cocaine. Remember, G Money introduced the character Nino Brown to this new drug, crack cocaine. And in actual life, the Chamber Brothers, which were, in this situation, BJ, Larry, Willie, and Otis Chambers, they were the first group of people in Detroit to sell crack, and some more parallels come is when Nino Brown did the Carter thing and had an apartment complex and set it up. Well, these brothers actually had that. You know what I'm saying? They had that. They was known for taking over an apartment complex in Detroit known as the Boulevard on East Ferry Street in Detroit, and in the film they changed it to the Carter. You know what I'm saying? Well, it was a big housing project where they manufactured crack cocaine out of there. See, that a lot of people don't know that story was based of some part on an actual real true story. You know what I'm saying? And the Chamber Brothers, man, a little bit about them. Ultimately, they started a trend of a lot of dope dealing and a lot of crazy things that happened in Detroit, because in Detroit, on the east side, which I'm from Detroit, was originally the Black Bottom. It got burned down in riots, long story short. Well, that's where the east side was where most of the black people would live at, I believe. And the west side was most of the white people live at way back then. And the Chamber Brothers were the first ones to sell crack cocaine, at least the first known major crack cocaine dealers in Detroit. Eventually, it would go down. I'm not sure about the exact chronological order. I had an OG I used to work with. Well, told me the order. I can't remember. I know it's the Chamber Brothers was first, because he used to run with them. But then you would have Maserati Rick and White Boy Rick, and you would have Demetrius Holloway, and then you had a YBI, and then you have all these different guys. Eventually, they all fell to indictments. You know what I'm saying? But the Chamber Brothers was the first guys to really get money, and eventually they got caught not because of ignorance, you know what I'm saying, or it could be because of ignorance, but they got caught because they would tape, their family would tape all their family reunions, and they would tape all this stuff. So they taped themselves bagging up a whole bunch of money, talking about we gonna get the money get the ones to the poor, and eventually that led to them being indicted, because when the police got their hands on those home tapes, they would have these big bag of money, and they would be, you could check out the documentary they did on BET with American Gangster series, and they would do that. They would just tape everything, and even back then when social media wasn't popping, they had cameras taping everything, and that's eventually how they got caught. Obviously, it's a lot of parallels from their story to New Jack City, but it's the endings is very, very different, man. The ending is super, super different, and they influenced that movie, heavily. They influenced that movie, and when you hear Biggie talk about the 10 crack commandments, they really had 10 crack commandments. You know what I'm saying? They really had them. No, if you driving with the bag on, you catch my drift. If you driving with the bag on, no playing loud music, no speeding, and this is what you do. They had real 10 crack commandments, dog. You know what I'm saying? When Biggie was rapping about that in the 90s, they was doing that in the 80s when the crack broke in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? And eventually they got indicted in the late 80s, I think like 85, 88 or whatever. And they got indicted. They was getting money. And then it led to a lot of other people in the city getting money, from YBI to Holloway to Maserati Rick, which I would do hood stories on some of them as well. You know, I said they won't be lengthy. Just give you a quick gist of what's going on. And I even go into, you know, New York hood cities and go down to Baltimore, D.C. area. And, you know, just want to give y'all a nice little, you know, a cluster of it. I don't want to go hours talking about it. But yeah, you know, that was what that movie was about, New Jack City. These dudes really had apartment complexes. They really had bags of money. They had real 10 crack commandment codes. You can look it up on the internet. They was doing that. You know what I'm saying? And they came from Arkansas to better their life, and eventually got caught up in the crack cocaine deal. And New Jack City, you know, they did the parallel from there to that city to this movie, man. And it has a lot of parallels, like I said, as far as them being the first guys selling crack, and as far as the Carter complex building, and kind of how they crew moved and how they moved and shaped. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, ultimately, their downfalls was definitely different. They had to kind of make the movie a little bit different. Their downfall was videotaping themselves, you know, counting the money and all that stuff and everything they was doing. And obviously, it's a lot of the mistakes that people make today. You know, telling what they next move on social media, showing they selling weed on social media, saying they selling Molly and drugs on social media. It's pretty much the same. You know what I'm saying? What caught them? It's nothing new that these guys are being caught with. These guys was doing this back in the mid to late 80s, man. You know, early 80s, recording themselves, and ultimately they got caught up. And New Jack City was a very, very prominent thing, man. And I believe this author in 87, I think his name is Barry Michael Cooper. I look at his screen. He came to Detroit and did, you know, he did a documentary on the Detroit drug, thing going on around here. He was a professor, I believe, at Michigan State, was what I'm reading. And he called his book, or his documentary. It was an award-winning Village Voice title, New Jack City Eats Its Young. So, you know, even the title New Jack City, it wasn't just out the blue. It ain't something they grabbed on. It was about Detroit, you know. It was about, even the title New Jack City Eats Its Young was about Detroit. And they took it to New York and made it about New York. Obviously, that's a big mega media market. And they put their twist and spin on it. But this was all made up off of Detroit story. Even the name of the movie was made up off of Detroit. Now, how they went down and how Nino and them went down, totally different stories. It definitely had its own twist. But just wanted to get the word out there a little bit. I don't know if a lot of people knew that. A lot of people say, oh, I didn't know that's how the Gucci and Jeezy beef started when I did yesterday. Just little known facts to make, feed some information. Like I said, I'm not going to get too deep into it, man. But it's your boy CJ Goodfella, the Boxing Clinic and more. We on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go ahead and check the description and drop down box. Check them out. You know, check us out on there. Take you straight to our social media pages. Also, new Raw and Cut podcast. We might do a separate hood stories on there, a little bit lengthier hood stories. Me, the Cali Enigma. Pretty sure he got some good hood stories. He always telling me out there in Oakland, California. I know some good stuff that's going on the east side, so we can do a series on there again, a little bit raw, and a little bit more in depth, and a little bit longer. So if you want that, let me know in the comment section. Also, we got a new college sports page popping up, S1210 College Sports Most Wanted. We talk about college football and basketball. That link's there as well. If you want to donate, the PayPal link is there as well. But shout out to everybody out here grinding. We doing our thing. Subscribe, share, hit the bell icon, like the video. Let me know what you think. One time for the one time, your boy Goodfella. We gone.